In this video we're heading to Jarrow, a town on the south bank of the River Tyne in South Tyneside, nestled in between Hebburn and South Shields. First we need to get this metro and I'll see you there. Welcome back, it's Eddie here from Tyneside Life. Here I am in Jarrow. It's a fascinating place and you're going to absolutely love this video and learn tons about it, not least because of that plaque on the other side of the platform there, the Jarrow Crusade. I'll talk about that a little bit later on. So anyway, let's head into the town centre. So the first thing you're met with when you arrive at Jarrow is a bus station, a bus depot, the Palmer Community Hospital and a Home Bargains, and this is just across the road from what we're going to see a little bit later on, their town centre shopping centre, which is called the Viking Centre. Now, like a lot of areas these days, Jarrow's no different on Tyneside. Has been socially and economically deprived. There is a lot of poverty around here. There are residents and families who have to rely on food banks to feed themselves, which is really sad these days. It's hard to get your head around being in 21st century Britain and your family's on food banks. So here we are, right smack bang in the middle of Jarrow Town Centre. Behind me there's their shopping centre, the Viking Centre. Now you may not know, but Jarrow is absolutely steeped in rich history going back to Anglo-Saxon times and the Venerable Bede. But we'll talk a little bit more about the history as we go through this video. Before we do that, let's take a little look around the town centre. So I'm not going to profess to be an expert on Jarrow. I do know a little bit. You know, the Jarrovians are a very proud Geordie people, and from personal knowledge I do know the vast majority of the people around here are Newcastle United fans. There'll be a few stragglers who have wandered off the script and have become Sunderland fans for some strange reason, but it's a very proud area, built on, like I said, coal mining and then shipbuilding, and have went through some awful times through the decline of the shipbuilding industries and then the 70s and 80s. And now, probably it's fair to say it's suffering now, towns like Jarrow. A lot of these premises will just be taken over. And back in the day, at the height of their industries, there was about 54 pubs in Jarrow. It was a thriving place to come and drink. Even up till the 80s, my understanding is, it was a really good night out in Jarrow. Today, there is one or possibly only two pubs open in Jarrow, and that's absolutely shocking to hear, and just a measure of how difficult things are. For pubs in general to keep open through these difficult times. I know the smoking ban in 2007 had a big hit, and I know that lockdowns have also had a big hit, and the cost of living crisis and energy costs are spiralling. It's all took its toll and had a deep impact on decent, hard-working, normal people like the ones in Jarrow, Wales End, North Shields, Gateshead. We're all the same, we're all Geordies. We're all trying to figure a way to be happy and get by. So talking about some of the pubs that used to be here back in the day, let's take a look at some of them. This sculpture behind me here, a memorial, is called the Spirit of Jarrow. going back to the Crusade, the March of 1936. Let's learn a little bit more about exactly what that's all about. In 1851, Palmer's shipyard and ironworks was open. This replaced coal mining as the major source of employment, and for 80 years Palmer's built around 1,000 navy ships. Jarrow's shipyard became the largest of its kind in the country and providing high employment levels for the men in the surrounding area. Unfortunately, after the First World War, orders began to drop and Palmer's had overestimated their orders. The Great Depression hit in the early 1930s, and this was to become the final straw for the shipyard, which employed around 8,000 locals. It finally closed in 1934. With mass unemployment in Jarrow and families struggling to feed themselves, it was decided to organise a protest march to Parliament, some 286 miles from Jarrow. This march was organised and partially participated in by local MP Ellen Wilkinson and local councillor David Riley. 200 men were selected after being deemed fit to be able to carry out this arduous walk. They set off on the 5th of October 1936, and it took 26 days to reach Parliament on the 31st of October. You can only imagine how difficult the walk was without modern clothing and footwear we enjoy today in cold and wet conditions. On the 4th of November 1936, MP Ellen Wilkinson addressed Parliament and stated that Jarrow as a town had been murdered. She went on to say that during the last 15 years, Jarrow has passed through a period of industrial depression without parallel in the town's history. Its shipyard is closed, its steelworks have been denied the right to reopen. Where formerly 8,000 people, many of them skilled workers, were employed, only 100 men are now employed on a temporary scheme. The town cannot be left derelict. Despite sympathetic responses, the petition and protest fell on deaf ears, and the men of Jarrow were forced to return home. Ellen Wilkinson would later release a book called The Town That Was Murdered. That's just fascinating stuff. You just can't imagine what it must have been like in those early 1930s through the Great Depression, when they didn't have a welfare state like we do today. People would have had vouchers for rations to queue up to get food. Malnutrition was like a real thing back in the day in the early 1930s, when all these thousands of workers lost their jobs when the Palmer shipyard and ironworks eventually had to close. It must have been desperately hard times, and that story I think is just amazing as well. And what struck me as well is the dog that followed them all the way down there. You can see the statue of him just behind us there. It was a black Labrador called Paddy. It just breaks my heart that these men and this dog just marched all the way down to London, soaking wet, freezing cold, fighting for a cause, and then just for it all to fall on deaf ears when they got to Parliament. And the Labour government at the time, it's my understanding, is they give them train tickets to get themselves back up to Jarrow. Unbelievable. There was a famous song written by Alan Price, who was of the Animals, the group The Animals, 1974 I think, called the Jarrow Song. I can't put the song on, I'm absolutely gutted because I'd get a copyright strike, but if you get a minute, put it on. It's fabulous, fabulous song. So I've just found this lovely cafe in the Viking Centre in Jarrow. It's described as apart from Morrison's, the only proper cafe in Jarrow. It's the Rosys Cafe in the Viking Centre. Like I said, it's lovely inside. I've just missed rush hour, so it's lovely and quiet. They've got a huge selection of food. Staff are really friendly, big smiles on their faces. Value for money, not bad at all with the prices. And I've just ordered myself a tuna jacket tatty. Can't wait to get stuck in. Thirsty work, all this. So yeah, if you're in town, check Rosys Cafe out. So I've just been stopped by a lad called Steve. Cheers, Steve. He's been living in Jarrow for about 10 years. He was living in Walkup before that. He's been giving us a little bit of history of the pubs around here. The Royal Oak is now unfortunately shut. Its nickname was the Long Bar. It had one of those old-fashioned traditional long bars. He has told me that there's probably only 3 bars left in Jarrow Town Centre. There's one down here called the Golden Lion, or nicknamed Johnny's, and one by the side of Morrison somewhere by the church, which I'm going to check out in a minute. But that's shocking if there's only 3 pubs left from 54. There we go, behind Morrison's we'll have the Crown and Anchor pub and kitchen. And look at that, it's even got the old Blue Star outside the pub. It looks like it might be open. I'm going to see if anybody's inside. So there you go, Crown and Anchor still open, one of the oldest pubs in Jarrow. Just been chatting to one or two of the locals, and Andrea, the girl who manages the pub, who's too shy to come on and tell us a bit more about it, but I did notice McEwen's Best Scotch on draft, my drink when I started drinking. Beautiful, love seeing that. I don't know how clear the image is in front of us now, but you probably know, some of you might not, but Jarrow has an entrance to the pedestrian Tyne tunnel. Goes underneath the River Tyne. There's only about 100 metres of water separates Jarrow and Howden on the other side, and the Tyne tunnel for pedestrians, and there's a separate cycle tunnel as well, was opened in 1951, and it was provided a vital link to workers on the Jarrow side of the River Tyne to be able to get across to the north side and work in the shipyards like Swan Hunters. It was absolutely crucial. Of course, with the decline of those industries through the 70s, 80s and 90s, that demand for work has stopped. So has the busyness of the Tyne tunnel. But I'm not going to go inside. I have been through there quite a few times in my time. If you want us to do a separate video on the Tyne tunnel, let us know in the comments down below. So there we go, the Albian 1885 gin and ale house. It's not looking promising so far. Let's check it out. Round the side. Oh, that's a shame. Look at them tiles. It's obviously a very old pub, but it was dead popular back in the day. That's a shame. So I wonder when it did shut. The last owned public house of the Jarrow Brewery, 2002 to 2015. Look at this old building here, the Jarrow Civic Hall. It's a gym now. Huh. And a bit of a soft play centre, function room, licensed cafe. The Jarrow Civic Hall. And just right next to it there is the Ben Lomond, probably the biggest pub in the area. I'm going to pop in if it's open and see what the crack is. You don't need any makeup on.
Oh, you fucking do.
Enjoy your day, girls.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jacko, manage the Ben Lomond. We do cheap food, cheap drink, family friendly, do events, do parties, do DJ nights. Come and try us out.
Great place, people are fantastic, everybody's friendly, but unfortunately the government and that, it's like everywhere is going downhill, big style. You got the shops over there, half of them are shut. I mean, it's like this bar, good bar, but obviously we're financial things, gas, electricity, food prices. People are finding it difficult to come out. I'm coming up to 72 in November. This is like the hub of the community. You come out to see your friends, socialise and that, rather than sit in the house. I mean, good pub, but there's less people getting in all the time.
There you go, and cheers Jack, cheers Alan, telling us a little bit about what the Ben Lomond is like and life in Jarrow. Sad to hear about the decline obviously there from Alan. Pub first opened in 1888. It looks lovely inside, first time I've ever been in. The menu looks good, cheap, friendly. If you're in this neck of the woods, get yourself in. Look at this beautiful old town hall building. It's now South Tyneside Council and South Tyneside Homes. But this is the very spot where they gathered and met for that march on the 5th of October 1936. There's a plaque on the wall there in dedication to Joseph Simmons OBE, who was one of the organisers. And directly across the road there is a statue that thousands of people just probably walk past every day and might not even know who it is, but that is Sir Charles Mark Palmer, Baronet, born in South Shields 1822, founder of the Palmer Works of the town of Jarrow, who was first mayor in 1875. The Palmer shipyards, so a very, very powerful and influential man back in the day. And it was the Palmer shipyards which were responsible for building HMS Resolution. Now, I didn't know that. That's fascinating. That block of flats just over there, I don't know if you can see, but that's Ellen Court, and this is Wilkinson Court. Obviously, if you put the join the dots together, MP Ellen Wilkinson, local MP, one of the organisers of the Jarrow March. Well, I never knew that. 2 blocks of flats named after her. One Ellen, one Wilkinson. Fascinating, man. I nearly forgot to mention one of the other most famous personalities and celebrities of Jarrow. You might have heard of Jarrow Elvis, a local pub and club Elvis impersonator back in the 70s, 80s, into the 90s. Jarrow Elvis, he was made even more famous in 1992 when BBC did a documentary about him, if you get time to watch that. Yeah, so he was clearly another fascinating and probably a bit of an unusual character as well, Jarrow Elvis. For those of you from here, who else was famous in Jarrow? Of course, I don't know everything. I'm just walking around giving you a snapshot of what life is like in this area. You see plenty of Newcastle United shirts. You didn't see any Sunderland shirts. But yeah, leave a comment down below. Let us know any important information that I've missed out about this famous area. I should mention as well, if you want to learn more about the history of Jarrow and Venerable Bede in particular, there is a Bede Museum and Visitor Centre down by the monastery in St Paul's Church, down by where the River Don meets the River Tyne. Go down there, check it out, check their website out, their opening times, etc. Very fascinating indeed. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Give us a thumbs up if you did. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you want to learn more about life on Tyneside, why don't you check this video out.